Welcome back to Alexander Central Unsolved. Today we are talking about the unsolved case of JonBenet Ramsey.
This specific case gives me the creeps.
On a snowy morning in December 26, 1996, Patsy Ramsey discovered a ransom note for her 6-year-old daughter, JonBenet.
After this discovery, this caused Patsy to call the police at 5:52 a.m. to report JonBenet missing.
The only people inside the house was John Ramsey, Patsy Ramsey, and Burke Ramsey.
Only less than 8 hours later, the body of JonBenet was found inside the Ramsey residence. She was found by her father with duct tape over her mouth and a cord around her neck.
The police did not search the house because they were not inclined to believe that the child was in the house because of the ransom note.
The reason this case was televised so much was because JonBenet was popular in the beauty pageant industry and had won several pageants.
The autopsy revealed that she had been hit by a hard, blunt object, but the coroner ruled her cause of death was by asphyxiation. Her death was also ruled as a homicide.
The clothes that she was wearing had DNA from an anonymous individual. That DNA was not found in the FBI database.
There was also 2 steps of unidentified footprints, and there was also a rope found near JonBenet's room, which did not belong to the Ramseys. The rope was not tested until 10 years after her death.
The crime was done so cleanly because there was no footprints found in the snow and there was no clear evidence of forced entry.
Now that we know the basic information, let's get on to that ransom note that was found.
The note stated that they would need to give $118,000 in exchange for JonBenet.
The beginning of the note started with, "Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals who represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves."
I feel like if you are writing a ransom note, you would put as little detail as possible, but that's just my personal opinion.
The letter was also signed by SVTC. Those initials still remain a mystery.
Remember the amount they asked for in exchange of JonBenet?
Yeah?
It was close to the amount John Ramsey received as a bonus that year.
Also, it was determined that the ransom note was written using the pen and the paper from inside the house. This brought suspicion of the authenticity of the note.
This would mean that the killer would have to write the note in the house and then kill JonBenet. All of this would have to occur with the rest of the family in the house.
There was also evidence on the notepad that there was rough drafts of the note, and there were grammatical errors, and this would lead to say that the ransom note was fake.
Let's talk about the main suspects, which were the people inside the house, the Ramsey family.
Shortly after the murder, the Ramsey family was targeted heavily as the main suspects because of the uncertainty of the note and no evidence in or outside of the house of an intruder.
A recent TV program theorized that JonBenet's brother Burke had accidentally killed JonBenet.
The program also theorized that it was possible that the mother, Patsy Ramsey, had accidentally killed JonBenet.
Handwriting analysis, a technique used to identify small characteristics in a person's handwriting that can almost be as unique as a fingerprint, was used on the note.
This technique ruled out John Ramsey out of writing the note, but came up inconclusive with Patsy Ramsey.
DNA evidence left at the crime scene disproves this theory because none of the DNA matched any of the Ramseys.
Also, analysis of the crime scene ruled the crime to be consistent with a child abduction carried out by an intruder.
Now, let's take a look outside of the family for other suspects.
The first suspect is a man by the name of Bill McReynolds. He visited the house 2 days before the murder and often visited dressed as Santa Claus near Christmas time.
His own daughter had been kidnapped 22 years before, and McReynolds' wife had written a play in which a child was molested and murdered in a basement.
McReynolds said that he felt very close to the child and had even asked his wife to mix in a vial of glitter that JonBenet had gifted him with his ashes if he were to die.
Other than these details, there's nothing that suggests McReynolds would ever want to harm the child.
Another suspect was Gary Olivia. He lived a few blocks away from the Ramseys. In 2000, Olivia was arrested on an unrelated drug charge where he had a backpack with a picture of JonBenet in it. He explained that it was only because he was touched by the case.
This Gary guy seems odd and very suspicious. Also, his DNA did not match with what was found on JonBenet.
John Mark Carr was also another suspect, and he confessed to murdering JonBenet to a professor, Michael Tracy, through email.
With the help of the government, they tracked Carr to be in Thailand, where he escaped from the charges in the U.S.
He was ultimately not a suspect because his DNA did not match.
Dr. Henry Lee, who's a DNA expert, said that the underwear would have had DNA from the manufacture process. He proved this by buying a pair of underwear and tested it to see if there was DNA, which there was. Therefore, the DNA at the crime scene was fallacious.
This means any of the suspects could be the killer.
In the end, no one really knows who the killer was and what exactly happened.
Therefore, this case remains unsolved.